You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining me on the Newsmaker line is a gentleman I've seen in person a few times. In fact, one at the Nile Theater and one at Bellbank Park for Championship Wrestling from Arizona. Now he's with Impact Zone Wrestling and is their world champion. He is Main Event Evan Daniels. Are you with me, sir?
I am with you. Yeah, you're lucky I'm with you as well, because you see, I'm a very busy man. So the fact that I put time aside for you, you should feel very grateful for that.
I actually am very grateful for it. And yes, you are a busy guy. I'm glad we could nail down a few seconds that we can sit down and talk. And this coming weekend being, 8 days from right now, it'll be the 16th, Impact Zone Wrestling presents Looks That Kill. A great song, but also a great event coming up, and you will be in the main event. Go figure, defending your world title against 3 other opponents, including a former WWE star and the current TNA champion. Nick Nemeth, what is your thoughts as we head into Looks That Kill?
My thoughts are that I am very excited for this. You have myself and 3 other very, very talented individuals. One being Thugnificent, who's the longest reigning IZW champion. You have Bryce Saturn, who's been an absolute thorn in my side, and I just can't get him off me like an annoying fly, but still, he's a great up-and-comer, a lot of potential, and he's already held gold. And then, of course, like you said, we got Nick Nemeth, and I'm just looking forward to being in the ring with him and making sure that everybody knows that I'm just as good, if not better than him. So, I'm just looking forward to it, man.
Very cool. And you've been around the Arizona wrestling scene for quite some time, and I always tell people I've been doing some work with some local guys lately, and I moved out here in 2000, and there was nothing. No wrestling. And now it seems like it's becoming a thriving market, and it really is doing well. What is your thoughts as a guy who's been around the Arizona circuit for quite some time, seeing the growth of Arizona wrestling?
Honestly, I have to say it's been very cool to be a part of it. When I first started, I think about 10 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot back then either. We had the one school here, and then slowly but surely, more and more promotions started popping up, because I think people realized how popular professional wrestling is in Arizona and the Phoenix, Mesa, Glendale area. So once the fans started coming, more and more shows started coming up, and whether I'm a big part of that or a small part of that, whatever, I'm just happy to be a part of the transition from having absolutely nothing out here to now having a lot of very good companies all running at the same time.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see. I've been able to do some media to promote a few of them now, and they're all good guys. Everybody that's out here is good guys. There's nobody that's been stuck up in the slightest, and I guess that's the Arizona attitude, though. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
What attracted you to become a pro wrestler? What was the moment, if there was one, that you thought, you know what, this is what I want to do?
So originally, I am born in Europe and Serbia, and I moved to the United States about 1995 when I was about 5, 6, and my grandma, she had already settled in, and she was a big pro wrestling fan. So of course, when she'd put it on the TV, me and my brother, we'd come around and watch it with her, and ever since then, I've just been absolutely fascinated with pro wrestling, and it stuck with me my whole life. But seeing all these, larger-than-life characters, these superhero guys, you never think that you could be one of those guys, because you just look up to them so much and think it's so far out of, grasp. But the further along I got, there was some friends and we did some wrestling and backyards and garages, all that nonsense. And eventually I thought that I actually wanted to pursue this and get real training, and that I felt like I could be good enough to do it. I took the proper steps in getting into this world the proper way. So, I mean, it's been in my life since I moved to the United States.
That's beautiful. And the first time I saw you was in Championship Wrestling from Arizona. I went to a number of the shows at the Nile Theater. And I loved that promotion. It was nice to see. It was good to have local TV coverage of it. What was the experience like getting your first real crack at being on wrestling television and the experience with Championship Wrestling from Arizona?
I'd say my experience with them was great. I mean, it's a very well-ran company. It's nothing but professionals that work there. And the transition from going to regular indie-style wrestling to television, it's definitely night and day. I mean, there's a lot more things you have to be thinking of. There's a lot more moving objects that you have to be aware of, and you just have to be a lot more strict, I'd say, is the best way to put it. But I feel like I transitioned pretty well into TV, and they seemed to like me there, and they gave me some really good opportunities, and even going out into Hollywood, which is their sister company, to wrestling for United Wrestling. I mean, they've always been great to me. So, yeah, nothing but good things to say.
Yeah, I said I was at the Bell Bank Park show, and that show drew really well. It was over 1,000 people in this pickleball field, or whatever you want to call it, stadium, whatever they call it. And it was kind of cool to see you there. And I mean, it seemed like, though, right after that show, the Arizona part of Championship Wrestling kind of went away. I mean, is that just a done deal? Are we no longer going to see any more from those guys in the state of Arizona?
I haven't heard anything, honestly. I know right now they're not doing a whole lot, even in the California area, but I think they're looking to start up back soon. So, I mean, there's always potential for it to come back out here because it was a success out here in Arizona. So I'm sure if they ever started to run again, that they would think about coming back here. But as far as I know, not a whole lot going on.
Oh, wow. That's a shame to hear. But at least we got Impact Zone. That's the good thing. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I remember a few years ago, I was kind of becoming good friends with Alex Sawyers, and then kind of some reason we just stopped talking. I don't know what happened, but he had mentioned to me in passing that you were thinking about calling it a career. And I guess I wanted to find out what was going on, that made you think that maybe this was not for you anymore, and what changed your mind and brought you back into the world of wrestling.
So I did take a step away from wrestling. I don't know, I think it was like 5-6 years ago. I didn't have it in my mind to completely retire, but I was having a kid at the time, so I wanted to make sure that I took a break from wrestling and focused all my priorities on this brand new baby that I was bringing into the world. So that's mainly the reason I took that break. But I'm going strong now, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Very cool. And I mentioned in the intro, you're the IZW champion, and Greg told me that, he depends on you a lot. What does it feel like to be the guy trusted to carry the flag into battle, the figurehead for Impact Zone Wrestling as a world champion?
Honestly, I love it. I feel I perform really well under pressure. I feel like ever since I've become IZW champion, the shows have just grown more and more, and we're getting more fans out here. We're getting bigger venues, and now you have former WWE champion, superstar, wanting to come out and wrestle for IZW. And I know he wouldn't do that unless he knew there was some good talent out here. So I definitely, I'm in the perfect spot that I need to be in, which is the IZW heavyweight champion. And I plan on being so for a very long time and continuing to elevate IZW at the same time.
Very cool. I remember, I'm gonna age myself a little here. So I was on ASU radio, Arizona State University radio, trying to get somebody to man the, whatever you want to call it, the station, while I did a live remote from Impact Zone Wrestling in 2005. And that kind of shows everybody out there how long Impact Zone Wrestling's been out there. They've been out there a long time. It was the first, and for a while the only, independent wrestling that I knew of in the local area. So I'm glad to hear that Navajo Warrior and the whole crew that made this company grow is still around, and that Impact Zone Wrestling still a deal.
No, absolutely. And like you said, Steve, I mean, he's been nothing but great. I mean, he's helped me in so many ways, and just bettering myself as a performer and as a person. And he's gotten me many of opportunities that I definitely don't take for granted. Some matches that, I did the 205 Live for WWE. I did a few matches for AEW, and I probably don't get those without the help of Steve. So I don't think he gets enough credit, but yeah, he definitely has helped out a tremendous amount.
That kind of feeds into my next question. You're kind of almost like you read my screen. You've done the matches with WWE with 205 Live, like you said. You did it with the AEW as well. I've been talking to a lot of the guys from maybe don't want to call them a rival company, but Phoenix Championship Wrestling, and kind of asking, what's the plan? Is there a goal in mind to get signed elsewhere? And I'll ask you the same thing. Do you have a goal to get signed by one of the quote unquote national or major promotions?
I think, if you're in this business for the right reasons, is to make a living doing this. So obviously getting a contract somewhere will get you a step closer into that. So absolutely, I would love to get signed to any of the major companies. I don't really have a preference on which one, honestly. I just want to continue to grow myself and just see what I can do on these bigger platforms. So that opportunity comes, I plan on seizing it and making the most out of it. So, I feel like if anybody tells you that isn't their goal, then they're just doing this for fun. So
That's true. And right now, the WWE is kind of expanding their interest into independent wrestling. They just announced a few weeks ago the ID program, the WWE ID program. I don't fully get how it differentiates itself from what they had been doing anyway, because it's not like they weren't already aware of what's going on the indies. But as an independent wrestler, what do you think of WWE's interest in independent stars?
If you look at, I'd say most of their, top stars, they've all been independent wrestlers at some point. So they know that, there's a lot of potential on the indies, and any moment they can find the next guy that can carry their company into the next 5-10 years on the independents. But they also, do a great job of just picking up athletes and turning them into superstars. So I feel like they like to cover all their basics and make sure that they leave no stone unturned. So I know they're just constantly looking everywhere they can to find that next guy.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to close out with something I used to do back in the day, and that's word associations. And instead of doing just, random names I throw at you, I'm going to give you the 3 names of the guys you'll be facing in 8 days at Looks to Kill. Do you mind if we do that? And you can either give a one-word answer, or if you want to, give a more elaborate one, you're welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's start with Bryce Saturn. What is your thoughts on Bryce Saturn?
Bryce Saturn. Oh, man. So, I've seen this kid since he first started. And I want to say the amount of progress, improvement, not in the ring, but also outside of the ring, changing up his physique, putting in the work to become a better in-ring performer. I think he's great, and I think he has a very bright future. But in the current moment right now, I am the guy, and he's not going to take my spot or my title. So he can keep being this thorn in my side, and he can keep trying, and maybe one day he'll get there, but that day is not today.
Awesome. And second, of course, is going to be Thugnificent.
Thugnificent. So another guy who I've seen from the very beginning. He used to be a referee for my matches, and during training, I'd see him do all these crazy, acrobatic stuff from the top rope and just everywhere. And I knew right away that he was going to be very, very good. And I feel like he got there pretty quickly. Like I said, he was the longest reigning IZW champion. But also, that's in the past. We're focused on the now. And just like Bryce Saturn, he's not going to be taking my title either, or my spot at the top. We've already seen that. We've already been there, so we'll keep that in the past. And yeah, that's all I got to say about him.
All right, and finally is the show-off himself, the former Dolph Ziggler, now Nick Nemeth. I guess I already said it, Nick Nemeth.
So, Nick Nemeth, I've been a fan for a very long time of his, and even when I first got into pro wrestling, I based my style a lot off of him and what he did, because I would watch him and study him. And now, of course, getting an opportunity to be in the ring with him and, see how good I am compared to somebody like that, and I'm really just looking forward to testing myself. But the way I see it, he's the new guy at IZW, and he's just coming in. So I don't plan on losing to him either. I plan on holding that title. I plan on showing every single person that comes out to that show, which is going to be a lot of people, exactly what I'm all about. So I plan on taking that opportunity and furthering my career at his expense.
All right, and finally, where can people pick up tickets and check out Impact Zone Wrestling Looks That Kill next Saturday night?
Well, if there's any tickets left at this point, I'd say it's on Event Tribe for IZW, Looks That Kill. You can also find it on their social media. They have the links too. So I'd say get them very quickly because they are going fast. If they're not sold out now, they will be very soon.
Awesome, and I will post the link for people to buy tickets in the local area. And I want to take the time and say thank you for taking the time and doing this with me. I remember, I'm going to tell you a little quick story. I was at one of the Nile shows, and you were managing. And somebody behind me was mouthing off to you, and I think you thought it was me. Because you turned around and you said, "You shut your mouth." And I thought, oh, my God, okay. I didn't say a word, but I'll be quiet now. So you yelled at me once. I'm glad we could be friends now. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's all about growth, you know.
That works. All right. Well, before I let you go, can I ask for one last favor from you?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I ask for a station ID? Just saying this is Evan Daniels, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
Yes, absolutely. This is Main Event Daniels, your IZW Heavyweight Champion, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.